Welcome back to another Sunday prep day. If you're new here, every Sunday I prep for the week. So that means cutting on my vegetables and making things that take a little bit longer. So today I'm going to make a roasted salsa, and I'm going to make some coleslaw, I'm going to make some herb butter. So for my roasted salsa, the first thing I'm going to do is I just cut this garlic in half this way, so when I roast them I can easily squeeze out all the little things. Actually, the very first thing I did was preheat my Ninja Foodi. So just gonna wrap that to keep that together. And then here I have a whole bunch of shallots that I peeled. So those can go in to get roasted. And I have a whole bunch of these cherry tomatoes. Those can go in. And I also have some chilies and some peppers. So I just want to get those roasted right at the start so that can go while I'm prepping. Multitasking is always good. So I just have one bag of these cherry tomatoes. I'm just going to throw them all in. Whatever I don't use this week from this salsa, I'll just use next week. It should last at least a week. So I have some different kinds of chilies. I'm saving one for slicing. The rest I'll just roast. And here I have a few peppers. These are sweet. These are not spicy. They're just sweet like bell peppers, just in a pointy shape. I'm going to use 2 for my roasted salsa and 1 I'm going to roast and use for a wrap. So I'm just going to roast that with the rest of it. And I'm just using a silicone basket, so all the juices that come out go into that little basket, and I can just take them out and put that in the salsa because there's a lot of taste in there. So that goes in. Put it on grill the highest it goes, and it usually takes about 20 to 30 minutes. So I'm gonna do 20 minutes, and then after 20 I'll have a look. I'll probably turn things around because what I want to do with the peppers and the chilies is get the skin blackened so it peels easily. So I'll probably have to turn it at some point. So after 20 minutes I'll just check, turn things around, give it another 10 if it needs it. So and then we're just gonna start chopping things. So I have an onion here, a red one. I'm gonna use that for some coleslaw. So I'm gonna dice that up. So let's go over the menu. So today is Easter. So for lunch, it's gonna be more of a brunch. I have some pastol, which is like a stolen Easter bread that we have. So that's bread with like nuts and dried fruits and everything in it, and some almond paste. So I'll have that, and I haven't fully decided yet what I'm in the mood for. I can do some croissants because I have a can of crescent rolls. I can do some rolls with some ham. I can do some cinnamon rolls. We'll just see what I'm in the mood for. Yeah, let's just get a big container and everything I need for my coleslaw. I'll just put in that container because that's also where I'm going to mix it and store it in. So, and then for dinner tonight, Easter dinner, I'm going to roast some pork. And I'm going to have that with some baby carrots, some parsnip, and I have some of these potatoes. So here I have some onions. I'm going to need those for some soup. And I'm going to need those for some mac and cheese. So for the soup, just use one. I'm not going to blend the soup or anything like that, so I'm just cutting it reasonably fine. And I'll get another big container for my soup stuff. So that, and then this one is for my mac and cheese, because I like to use fresh garlic, fresh onion, etc. A little bit of mustard powder, some butter, milk, cheese, obviously. So that can go in that container for my mac and cheese. Then I have some spring onions that I'll just cut up for a stir fry. So, and yeah, we're on the menu. So, for Monday, Meatless Monday, I'm going to have some vegetable soup. That's what I'm going to prep in a moment. And for dinner, I'm going to have that mac and cheese that I mentioned. So I still have some Easter-shaped pasta from last year. Like it has like Easter eggs and bunnies and all that stuff. So I thought that would be a good way to use it. And in this country, we actually have 2 days of Easter. We have Eerste Paasdag, which is first day of Easter, which is Sunday, and we have Tweede Paasdag, second day of Easter, which is the Easter Monday. So that's Monday. Then on Tuesday, for lunch, I'm gonna have some coleslaw with some chicken, either some chicken breast or chicken tenders. Maybe I'll do some keto chicken nuggets. I have some drumsticks. We'll just see what I'm in the mood for. While I cut up these cloves of garlic for my mac and cheese and my stir fry. But yeah, I'll make a big batch of coleslaw and I'll use that for several lunches this week. Oh, and if you are new here, I am diabetic. I have to cut carbs, so most of my lunches are low carb keto friendly, except on the weekend when I have my cheat days. So then for dinner, on Tuesday I do Taco Tuesdays. I'm gonna have some chicken tacos with that roasted salsa that I'll make in a moment. And I'll do some lettuce with that, and cucumber, and all that good stuff. Dress it up. Then for Wednesday, I'm gonna do a low-carb stir-fry, and to bulk that up, instead of like rice or noodles, which is definitely not low-carb, I have broccoli stems, which I actually really like. It's a good way to use those. They have a lot of flavor, add a lot of fiber, so it would be a waste to throw those away. So that's garlic. So put that in a container. These cloves are for the soup, so I'll just leave them whole. The soup is going to go for a while in my pressure cooker, so I don't really need to cut them. What are we going to do next? For my soup, let's do some celery. So I'm going to cut off the top, and I'll just slice that nice and fine. Then we're on we're still on Wednesday for dinner. I'm gonna do a rice bowl with a little bit of lime cilantro rice, some chicken, that salsa. I'll use that for multiple meals, and then maybe some corn. We'll just see. I have some canned corn in the pantry. So let's get that in our container. Then let's do some carrots. I have a couple of carrots here for different things. So 2 of these, because they're fairly small, I'll shred for my coleslaw. So I have my little julienne slicer here. And this is just the easiest way and the quickest way to do it and the most consistent way. So that's 2 carrots, that is enough for that. And then I need some carrot as well for my vegetable soup, so I'm going to take these carrots and just slice them up. And I'll also use a little bit for my stir fry as well. But yeah, continuing on with the menu for Thursday for lunch, I'm going to do some more coleslaw, but again with chicken. And we'll just see again if I'm going to do like the drumsticks or the chicken breast or tenders or keto chicken nuggets. We'll just see. Keto chicken nuggets, by the way, I use almond meal for that and spices, in case you were wondering. So this with my soup ingredients, and this for the stir fry. Then for dinner, I'm gonna do some wraps, some harissa wraps, harissa chicken. So I'm gonna marinate some chicken in some harissa. I'm gonna have that with the roasted pepper, some lettuce that I have left over from last week, so that needs to be used up. some sliced up cucumber. And here I have these carrots. They're like purple, orange, yellow. That's what I'm going to use for tonight. I was going to peel them, but they're so skinny. I'm just going to leave the skin on, but I'm going to give them a quick wash. And let's get them dried up. So these I'll roast for tonight. And then another thing for tonight here, I have some parsnip, which I am going to peel real quick. And I'll try to cut that into pieces roughly the same size as my carrots. So those will roast in about the same time. And this little bit, don't want that to go to waste. You can use parsnip almost the same as you use carrots. I'm just going to slice that up and throw that in my soup. And then also for my soup, I have some parsley here. I'm going to take half a bunch. And I'll just give that a rough chop. What are we going to do next? Let's do a chili. So that's just for my stir fry. I might throw that in my mac and cheese as well, just for a little bit of spice. So just slice it. I'm going to leave the seeds in. Oh, and we didn't finish the menu, did we? So on Friday, Fish Friday, I'm going to do some coleslaw with some grilled fish. I have some salmon, might do that. I have some pollock, could do that. And then for dinner, I'm going to do some salmon, either a regular piece of salmon that I'm going to grill, or some salmon and puff pastry that I have. I'm going to have that with some broccoli, some potatoes. And these potatoes are going to go tonight. Just roast these. So I'll cut them in half, and I'll just lay them flat side in some oil and roast them so they get nice and crispy. So that is potatoes done. Then next up, I have some cilantro. I have like half a bunch left over from last week, so give that a quick chop. This is for my salsa and for my lime cilantro rice for my rice bowl. So I'm going to save the stems to make some curry. I think I'm going to make some curry next week. And I know the cilantro is going to go in the blender with the rest of my salsa, but I like giving that a quick chop because sometimes bulky things like this get stuck on top of the blades. It doesn't go down, it just rides on top of the blades, so I prefer cutting that. And again, just saving the stems for my curry paste. Yeah, this is fine enough for what I need. So I'll get that in a container. Then I have some cucumber for my my wraps. I'm going to cut the tip off, and I'm just going to use my V-slicer just because I have one. It's easier, much easier than doing it by hand, much more consistent. So I'll just slice that real quick. That is cucumber done. And what do we have left? I have some cabbage. I just took these leaves off of the cabbage, about half a cabbage worth. I decided I didn't want to cut the whole thing because I'm not using the whole thing. And if you leave it on the stem, the part that you don't use lasts a lot longer. What I'm going to do is cut out the little core, because that's kind of tough. And then layer these and just slice it as thin as I can. And that is going to go in my coleslaw. When it gets a little bit thicker, maybe I'll slice it in half again this way. And just keep slicing it nice and thin. And I'm going to keep doing that for the rest of these slices. And like I said, that's about half a head of cabbage worth. And I'll just put that in with the rest of my coleslaw ingredients. And then we have some broccoli. I need 2 portions worth. So I'm just going to cut off these florets and cut them into bite-sized pieces. Okay, that is florets, and then these stems I'm going to take the leaves off. cut it in half, and then cut it this way so I can cut it nice and fine. Oh, that's my Ninja Foodi. So yeah, like I said, just cut it this way. I'm just gonna quickly have a look. It's starting to blacken on one side, but it's not fully there, so I'm gonna flip things over and give that another 10 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm just gonna cut these stems nice and fine. And as I've said before, you can go all the way to broccoli rice or something, but I just don't care enough. So I don't mind a little bit of texture. So put that in a container. And that is all the chopping done for today. So I'm just gonna put some things away. We're at 23 minutes, by the way, so that's how long it took so far. But yeah, put some things away, and then I'll make the salsa, make the coleslaw, that kind of stuff. So, coleslaw. I have my carrots, my onions, and my cabbage. So I'm just gonna add some mustard, mayo, some salt, and some pepper. I usually use fresh ground pepper, but for these kind of things I prefer pre-ground, just because I don't want the little chunky bits. And we'll just mix that up. And as I've said before, it's better to add too little mayo at this point than too much, because the salt will keep drawing the moisture out, so it will get wetter. So you don't want it too wet to start with. That will taste. That is just right. So I can put that aside, and that is ready to go. And another thing I want to prepare is just some compound butter. I'm making it easy on myself. I just have this ready-made mixture. It just has dried parsley, chervil, chives, pepper, and dried garlic. So I'm just gonna put that in. Nice helping. And a little bit of salt. Not too much because I'm using salted butter. And I'll just mix that all together. Try not to over-mix it with your hand because your hand is warm. You don't want the butter to completely melt, but you just want to quickly work that through. And there we go, that's ready for tonight. I'll just let the flavors mature for a bit, and that can go with my pork roast, with my rolls, with my my dinner, all that kind of stuff. And as you can see, these vegetables have finished roasting. They're blackened on the outside now. You can see the skin is starting to wrinkle, so once this cools down, they should be super easy to peel. Because I used the basket, my Ninja Foodi is still clean, so I switched that to saute. And I'm gonna add a bit of oil. And I'll get most of my soup ingredients in, except for my parsley, so that's some yellow onion, some carrot, parsnip, and some garlic, and some celery. I'll add a bit of salt. And I'll just let that soften. And in the meantime, one more thing I can do is I have some cheese that I need to grate it for tomorrow. So I'm gonna get my grater and just do that real quick while that is going, because I don't have anything to do in the meantime anyway. This cheese done, so that can go in the fridge. And in the meantime, my vegetables have softened. So now I'm going to add my parsley, and I'll add a splash of water, a good splash, and I will switch from saute to pressure cook, just because I have a pressure cooker. You can just slow cook this, let this simmer, but I'm gonna pressure cook, and it's just vegetables, so 20 minutes should be plenty. Make sure the valve is closed. So I'm gonna let that do its thing. Let this cool down a bit more so I can handle it, because this is way too hot to peel right now, and then I'll just be back in a moment. So for the salsa, you've seen me make this a million times, so I'm gonna go through it real quick. I'm gonna juice some lime. I'm gonna add cilantro, 1 bunch worth, so I'm gonna save some for my rice bowl, my lime cilantro rice. Add some cumin, some salt, and then I'm gonna take my peppers. I'm gonna take the stem and the seeds out. They should come out pretty easily. And then, as you can see, the skin pulls off really easy. And I should probably be doing that over this food processor bowl, because I want to keep as much of the juices as possible. So that's one. I'm gonna do 2 of these peppers, and one of them I'm gonna peel, but I'm gonna save that. And that is gonna be for my harissa wrap. So I'm just gonna take the skin off and leave that whole. But yeah, I'm gonna peel the rest of these peppers and the chilies and see you back in a moment. So that's the peppers and the chilies. You can use any kind of chilies, by the way. These are just the ones that are easiest available to me. And I like using the peppers to bulk things up a bit without making it too spicy, though I do like spice. But yeah, that's the peppers and the chilies, and then the tomatoes and the onions can just go in whole. And I'll just gently pour that in and make sure you get all those juices from like the tomatoes and stuff to go in as well. And then my garlic should be nice and soft. So just unwrap that and you can just squeeze that right out. And that is now ready to get blended. So that's all blended up. Let's give it a taste. Yeah, that's really nice. Salt is perfect. Nice and spicy, not too spicy. So I'm well happy with that. So I'm just gonna let that cool down a bit and I can put that in a container, store that in the fridge. This should last at least a week in the fridge. So whatever I don't use this week, I'll just plan to use up the start of next week with like some quesadillas or something. Yeah, the only thing now is I'm waiting for my soup, but you know what soup looks like, so I'm just gonna end the video here. If you like this, I do this every single Sunday where I prep for the week. If you like to see what I do with all the ingredients that I prepped, you can check out my Instagram where I post every single meal, or you can check out the video I do about once a month on here where I show you a whole week of everything I eat in a day, including how to make it sometimes, and I posted one of those videos past Friday. But yeah, if you like this, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Until next time, bye for now.